The SIS for Children in many ways is a groundbreaking tool because it really shifts the focus towards identifying the support needs of children with disabilities and really provides a vehicle for families, for educators, for other support persons to, in a very reliable and valid way, look at what a child needs across multiple domains: home, school, the community. And really there hasn't been a tool that's enabled this before.
It's real important to us to help not only the families, but our legislatures and the people who support us in general understand what the support needs are for the folks that we support here in Virginia.
So what a person who's a respondent may expect is an assessment that lasts maybe 2.5 hours, and talking through the support that the child needs.
Simply by focusing on where a child's deficits are, one loses sight of what supports they need to be fully engaged and fully participate in all aspects of a child's life. And so the SIS-C goes across domains associated with the home, domains associated with the communities, domains associated with schools, and domains associated with social interactions. And the real advantage of it is it helps us understand what a child needs in order to be fully engaged like other children in their communities without disabilities.
I think that's one of the key factors in the SIS-C, is that it looks at what's it going to take to be successful for that person. And success means lots of things to different people. And they want their children to be successful just like anybody else. And so the SIS-C helps us totally understand.
You can take this from an educational context, from the context of supporting a child in the community. Before, we were really too focused on what a child's deficits were. We would identify things that they couldn't do and try to intervene and find ways to change that. But realistically, what really matters is the match between a student's strengths, their interests, their preferences, and what they want to be doing in the environments, or what the demands of those environments are. So we've never really had a tool that actually asked that question of what supports do children need in the multiple environments that they're in. And the SIS does this. It allows us to really switch to a strengths-based approach to be more true to the intent of the laws like IDEA and other ways of supporting children in communities to really enable them to get the things that they need rather than just focus on remediating deficits.
What we focus on is the supports in order to ensure success within activities, and don't focus on the deficits that a child may have. So we don't focus on what the child can't do, but rather how can people support that child to successfully participate in activities of childhood. When we talk to respondents and help them understand what the process will look like, some families or some respondents may feel nervous talking to people that they don't know about all the support their child needs. The assessment process is a very transparent process. We go through each and every question. It is discussed. The interviewer will explain all the questions. Every question will go through in all the transparency of helping people understand what the intent is, what the ratings mean, and really give them an idea of what the full picture of the supports for that child truly is. And learning that from all the different respondents, because every respondent brings their own unique story, brings their own unique view of the child's support needs. And through the assessment, through the conversation, we can put that whole story together to show whether or not the child has low support needs, moderate support needs, very intense support needs, or what truly are the unique support needs for each child.
It also asks about any exceptional medical or behavioral support needs that a child might have. So these would be questions in the medical area about things like, does the child need supports around breathing, eating, or other key areas? And then in terms of exceptional behavioral needs, that might be issues like having emotional outbursts or wandering. And so based on responses to those items, if children have exceptional medical and behavioral needs, we know that that can influence the supports that they're going to need across all of the other domains of life. So a support planning team can really use this information, an educator, a family, and those people planning together to plan for how you might need to consider that in addressing support needs in other domains to really lead to the best outcomes for the child and the family. The 3 ratings for items on the exceptional medical and behavioral support needs section are no support needed, some support needed, or extensive support needed.
What a respondent may find during the assessment is there is a lot of conversation about the help and the support the child needs. It's very common to have respondents, even though they know the child and have known them for all of their life, to even say, wow, I didn't realize that, or I didn't know that that is what is needed in different environments. So having a group of people who know the child well, including parents, family members, teachers, friends, community members, paid supports, having a group of people who know the child well enough to answer all those support questions will generate conversations that help everybody understand exactly what supports the child needs. The assessment is very comprehensive. There are a lot of questions that we will go through, and we really want to look at, even if the child currently does not engage in those activities, what support they would need in order to be successful if they did engage.
For the SIS-C, it's comprised of a number of different items that are organized in different life domains that are going to be important for children. Things like, home living, community living, school learning, school participation. And within each of these domains, a number of questions are asked. And people that know the child well provide ratings on 3 dimensions. So the type of support needed, the frequency of support needed, and the daily support time. And then those ratings are aggregated together and used to generate scores. And people can really use the individual items to be looking at specific areas of support, or we can come up with what we call standard scores, which are scores that are in reference to the population of children with disabilities to really understand how each child with an intellectual disability, kind of where they're falling in their ranges of support needs, so that we can really use that information, again, to better build that system of support that leads to outcomes that are going to really enhance functioning.
The conversation that takes place often informs everybody about the supports the child needs in lots of environments. It's very common for people, even though they know the child well, to talk through and to discover the supports that the child needs within different environments that they didn't know about.
All children with intellectual and related developmental disabilities have some special support needs that other children the same age do not have. But within that group, some children need very intense supports and other children need less intense supports. And the SIS-C is a way to get an accurate measure of a child's support needs relative to their peers.
The great thing about the SIS-C is that it both can really be used in meaningful ways by families, by educational teams, to identify specific areas that a child needs supports around and then figure out what those most effective supports are going to be. So we can really understand where individual children are in terms of their support needs and use that to really do planning in a strengths-based, more effective way to lead to better school, home, and community outcomes.
It's always been a struggle for us to understand, particularly children's and their families' needs, because there's such a variety of supports that can be provided and such a variety of support needs from lower levels to higher levels. SIS-C, which has been provided by AAIDD, really helps us understand more the whole picture of the person, and it informs the person-centered planning process.
If you can really pinpoint what it is that a child needs, what support needs they have to be successful, then you can really use that information to identify a systematic plan for what supports are going to enable the child to be more successful. And this is going to lead to better outcomes. And as a child grows and develops, as they move from elementary to middle to high school and even into adulthood, we can look at how those support needs are shifting over time and continue to individualize support plans so that children are always getting what they need to be successful.
once they talked to us about them and we really understood, there was like a whole picture of the person. They weren't a number, they weren't a person just like anybody else, and the SIS-C helps us understand what that support would look like. And after the end of the SIS, it was a sigh of relief that I really got to tell my story about my family and how you can help me. And that's what it's all about, and us understanding to support people.